I want to share my story. And like Kevin said, my wife and I have been with CityPlace since the beginning. I was actually set out to, I was a youth pastor for a while at a local church for about 3.5 years before I started helping at CityPlace. And then God called me and my family to plant a church, or to help plant a church. And Kevin and I had done ministry together while we were in youth ministry. And he told me he was planting a church. I said I was thinking about planting a church. And the more that I heard Kevin speak and his vision, I said, man, I love that. Like, why don't I just jump in with what you're doing? Because I love your vision. I could be a great support to you. And we hit it off, and next thing you know, we're planting a church. And almost 3 years later, here we are. So it's been an exciting journey, and we're glad to be here. But today, I want to talk about commitment. What is commitment, and what does it mean to be committed? Commitment is this. I found this definition online. A willingness to give your time and energy to something that you believe in. A willingness to give your time and energy to something that you believe in. It can be your sports. You love your sports and you're committed and you're willing to spend your time and energy into that. It could be your job. It could be your family. It could be your church. Whatever you focus your energy, your time, your passion, whatever you are into is what you're committed to. And as I share my story this morning, I want to let you know that I wasn't committed to a lot. I really wasn't. In fact, my family grew up in church every Sunday. We go to church every Sunday. I go to youth group on Wednesday nights. But I wouldn't say we were committed to God. In fact, I don't remember even as a family praying together for anything serious, like if we wanted God to intervene or do something in our lives. I don't remember ever sitting down as a family praying. I don't remember sitting down and discussing anything spiritual in my household. I had a healthy fear of God, and I knew who God was, and I had a respect for Him, but I wouldn't say that I knew God. I didn't have a relationship with Him. So we go to church Wednesdays, Sundays. We knew God was good. We knew that we were supposed to be following Him, but I would say that my family really was not committed to Him, and I certainly was not, in my heart, committed to God. I just went because basically I had to. My parents weren't committed to each other either. Many nights my parents would wake us up fighting and screaming and cussing each other out. Sometimes things got really bad and we'd have to call the police. It was bad. It was bad. There was nights where I remember praying to God because I didn't know what else to do. I don't even know if I was saying the right thing, but I remember asking God just to stop the pain, to stop. Like, why am I in this family? Like, why are you doing this? Why am I in this situation? We're going to church. We're trying to do the right thing, but it's not working out. I wasn't committed in school. Any C students out there? Give it up. Thank you. Good. I was a C student in school, C's and D's. I didn't care. I didn't have any vision or direction in my life. I don't remember my parents saying, here's what I have for you, here's what you can be when you grow up, here's God's direction for your life. I didn't have any of that. So as a result, I went through high school and middle school and beyond my years, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I really didn't have a purpose or a plan. I figured after high school I would just get a job somewhere, maybe make a decent living, and just try to exist and live a decent life. Maybe go to church every once in a while. In middle school, I started hanging out with the wrong crowd. And I know it's weird to say that in middle school, but it really happened in 6th grade. I started hanging out with some people that were just really bad influences on me, but I wanted to please them, and I wanted to be accepted by them, so I would just do whatever they wanted to do. Like, if they told me we should do this, and it wasn't such a good thing, I would do it. And even as early as 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I was getting suspended from school. I was getting out-of-school suspension, I was getting into fights, I was doing all this stuff. Also in the 6th grade, something really really I guess you could say it's life-changing. Something pivotal happened in my life, and not in a good way. In the 6th grade, my neighbor introduced me to marijuana, so I started smoking. And 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I started smoking weed. And at the end of my 8th grade year, I found out that if I could sell it, I would make money. So I was actually in middle school, in my 8th grade class, selling it to all the other kids that wanted it. When I got into high school, things just kind of got worse. I mean, I had a lot of friends just trying to get by and selling drugs, doing drugs. By the way, at this time, I was still going to church because my parents made me go to church because, that's the right thing to do, right? So we go to church, I'd still go to youth group, and by the way, my youth pastor had an amazing influence on me. He's one of the reasons that, I can stand here today and say something about what God's done in my life. But things started spiraling for me, and things got a little bit out of control. My senior year of high school, the thing that should have woken me up really didn't wake me up. I had just turned 18, right? I'm still in high school, just turned 18, about 3 or 4 months from graduating. I get pulled over on the way home from school, and I have drugs in my car. And the cops searched my car, and they arrested me because my car, my stuff. And they put me in the back of the cop car, and I remember being so shocked. Like, I'm 18 years old, and here's what my life's coming to. Like, I'm arrested, I'm in the back of a cop car. Like, this isn't how it was supposed to be. Like, it's not how God was supposed to plan this out for my life. And so I get in the back of the cop car, and I remember, like, even asking the cop, like, where are we going? He's like, we're going to jail. I'm like, what do you mean jail? Like, jail? Like, real jail? He's like, yeah, you're 18 years old, and you're not going to, like, the juvenile detention center. You're going to adult jail with criminals. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. So I remember being really scared. I go to jail, and I'm there, and you know how in the movies you have like that one phone call? You guys now like you got the one phone call from jail. I guess that's true. I don't know. They said I had one phone call. So I called my dad Collect. You guys remember Collect? Some of you guys are too young for Collect. But you call Collect, and it's like you dial it, and basically they have to accept the call, and then they agree to accept the charges. Because back in the day, you didn't have like what is it? You couldn't just call anybody for free. It was, you had to pay for like long distance and stuff like that. So anyways, I call my dad. By that time, my dad already knows I'm in jail because I was in the car with my sister. I was in the car with my best friend, Justin. By the way, Justin passed away last December from a drug overdose. My best friend. He tells my dad, takes my car back to the house, Mr. Hanger, your son was arrested, really sorry, here's your car. I don't know what else to tell you. But anyways, he had already known at the time. I called my dad, and I was like, Dad, I'm in jail, yeah. And I was like, I need you to get me out, like, as soon as possible, because I don't belong here. Like, this is not what I pictured my life, and like, I don't even know, what am I going to do? Like, it's not going to be good for me. So I was hoping my dad would say, look, I'll get you out, I'll be right over. And he was really mad, and I can't blame him for this because I guess he had been trying to get me on the right path for a long time. And it kind of came to a point, and he just goes, son, for all I care, you can stay in there for the rest of your life. And he hung up the phone on me. So I'm like, oh my goodness. By the way, me and my dad had an awesome relationship. Like, he was just mad at the moment. Not like he was going to leave me in jail. Love my dad. Just so you know. Not like a terrible person or something. But he was mad. I spent like a week in jail, right? I finally get bailed out. By the grace of God, I had some felony charges. They dropped those charges. It was just a crazy way how it happened. I actually knew one of the prosecutor's daughters. I went to school with them. And I told her at lunch, I was like, hey, like, I'm facing these charges. I know your dad's going to try to prosecute me. Can you help me? I guess she talked to her dad. And I know it was God working too, but like it was amazing how it all worked out. And I'm telling you, it should have been much worse for me, but it wasn't. So that point, you would have thought that like that's like the point where I turned my life around, right? Like you go to jail, you're arrested, you have felony charges dropped, you're like thanking God for this opportunity. And then, like, as most stories go, like, you turn your life to Jesus, right? Well, it didn't happen like that for me. In fact, I just got worse. I don't know why, but, like, it should have woken me up, and I guess it did for a few months. But, like, I just went right back into it, like, whatever. Like, this is my reputation now. Like, everyone knew at school I was in jail. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone knew the type of person I was. So I'm like, this is who I am. This is, like, my label now. This is, like, who I'm going to become. And so graduation comes by, and thankfully I do graduate, and I walk and everything, and that was great. It was a good celebration. And all my friends are going to college and doing whatever they're supposed to do after high school. And I remember my vice principal coming and talking to me after high school, like on the way out on the last day of school. I'm getting in my car. He's like, hey man, what are you going to do like after all of this? I was just like, I don't know. Like, what am I going to do? That's a good question. Like, I don't have any plans. He's like, you don't want to go to college? I'm like, no. He's like, you have a job lined up? I'm like, not really. And all my friends, they were trying to make something of themselves. I didn't have any direction or vision or any kind of real commitment in my life. So I got a job. I got a job as an electrician. I worked in Washington, D.C. I lived in Virginia at the time. I hated my job, hated the people I was working with, and just kept going into the same things and the same patterns that I was in the whole time while I was in middle school and high school. Meanwhile, my sister, she turned her life around years before. She's going to church, she's serving, she's living a godly life, and she's encouraging me, she's praying for me, and all this stuff. And I remember her trying to drag me to church or sit there and pray with me at night. I'm just like, I don't want it. It's not working. It's not for me. Well, a year had gone by, so I'm like 19, right? And my sister invites me to church again. So I decide to go for whatever reason, because I think I was at the end of my rope, so to speak. I had tried a lot of things in my life, and I still felt pretty empty. I was going to church every once in a while, but I still felt pretty empty, getting into all kinds of trouble. So I went to church, and I guess whatever the speaker said, it really spoke to me that night. And I went home, and I thought about it for a couple of days, and I don't know what it was. It was just like a light bulb moment in my life. But I was just like, God, I'm just going to give you a chance, a real chance. I don't think I've ever done that before. I don't think I've ever totally 100% committed to you, and I'm going to do that. And so I remember going to my room, shutting the door, getting on my knees, praying, telling God I was sorry for everything. I told him to forgive me. I want to do better. I want to follow you. I want to make you the center. God, if you are who you say you are, I'm going to follow after you, and it's going to work out, because I'm going to put my faith and trust that you are who you say you are. You're going to do what you say you can do. And it was amazing. It was like this weight had been lifted off my shoulder. I just felt like I had a boulder on my chest, and it was just completely gone. I had this overwhelming peace. And from there, things really accelerated for me in my faith. I was going back to church. I was getting involved. I was preaching in the youth group. I told my old friends, hey guys, I'm not about this life anymore. I've moved on. Things have changed for me. I stopped hanging out with them, and things really accelerated. And then my youth pastor calls me, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm working at a college up in Boston. It's a Bible college. But you should come up here and check it out. Maybe college would be good for you. This would be good for your faith. This would be really helpful for you." So I'm like, yeah, I'll come and visit and see how it is. And so I went up to Boston, Massachusetts, which ironically is where I was born. It was cool to go back up there. And I visited, and I thought it was really cool, and I thought it was something good for me. I'm in Virginia. I'm going to go to Boston, 700 miles away from home, and kind of have a fresh start. So I enrolled in college. I got accepted somehow. I don't know. I think they just had some space left over. And so I get accepted to college, right? And I'm going to college, and after my first year there, I still didn't know what I was going to do, but I was starting to build a biblical foundation for my life. And from there, I dedicated my life to ministry, or some kind of ministry. I didn't know what it was going to be. I finished my degree. I was an honor roll student. I got a degree in biblical studies. I came back to Virginia and I actually got my master's in religious studies. And I felt like God was really calling me to either teach or preach or do something. And so I felt that it was important to get all of that. And I served a large church in Virginia for about 5 or 6 years. I moved down to Florida. I served for a couple of years. And then I quit my job to work another job. I work insurance now, but to help Ken plant this church. And here we are. Awesome, right? It's been an awesome journey. And as I'm telling you my story, I want you to turn in your Bibles, if you have it, to Matthew 19. And I want to share with you a story, Matthew 19, starting in verse 16, about a man who I feel it was very similar to me growing up. And there's an idea here of commitment, and Jesus' call to us concerning it. And I think it's a very powerful passage, how it connects to my life. And I'm sure it'll be meaningful to you. Matthew 19, verse 16. And behold, a man came up to him saying, "Teacher, what good deed must I do to have eternal life?" And he said to him, "Why do you ask me about what is good? There is only one who is good. If you would enter life, keep the commandments." He said to him, "Which ones?" And Jesus says, "You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, honor your father and mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself." The young man said to him, "All these things I have kept, what do I still lack?" And catch this. Jesus said to him, "If you would be perfect, go sell what you possess, give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come follow me." When the young man heard this, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. In my opinion, one of the saddest passages in Scripture. Because we read about a guy who seems to have it all together. I mean, he's a lot like our generation. He's rich. Who doesn't want money? He's young. He's powerful. He's influential. He's got it all figured out. He's living the American dream. But yet something inside of him says, it's not enough. I'm still missing something. And you can kind of see the arrogance in this guy's question to Jesus. Because he says, what good thing can I do? What can I do to inherit eternal life? What else am I missing? What else can I add to my resume, so to speak? How can I put another notch in my belt? I have money, and I pay my way into heaven. I'm young, I'm famous, I'm well known, I'm a ruler. What else do I need to have? And Jesus responds and says, "My son, say a little prayer and go to church every once in a while." No, he doesn't say that. Jesus, knowing this man's heart and intentions, he's trying to peel back. You got to look at the context here, but he's trying to peel back the layers of this man, because he knew who this man was, because he's talking to God, and God knows his heart. And he knew he was trying to work his way into heaven. He's like, you think you have it all figured out. You're not really asking because you want to know. You just want affirmation for what you think you already have. So Jesus is like, well, then keep the commandments. And this is, you got to understand, like back in those days when rabbis, which Jesus was considered a rabbi or a teacher, they didn't just answer your question directly. They would like answer your question with a question, because that's how they taught. So you're going to see that a lot in Scripture. When somebody asks Jesus a question, he's not just going to be like, here, follow me, give up your possession. He's going to try to teach them something by asking them a self-reflective question. That's kind of what he does. So he's saying, okay, you got to keep the commandments. And again, I think you can kind of see the arrogance in the man, because he's like, which ones? Like, I'm good. Which ones? I'm good. Jesus says, don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal, love your neighbor as yourself. The man's like, I got this. He's like, I've done all of these things since I was a kid. Like, what else am I missing? And I bet the guy was thinking, he's probably going to say, I have it all figured out. I'm going to be good. Here's my chance to shine in front of everybody here that's kind of listening to God teach. And then Jesus says, sell what you possess, give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Come and follow me. And the man walks away sorrowful. Maybe he went to church. Maybe he was reading his Bible. Maybe he said the occasional prayer. But the problem was he was not committed to God. In his head, he wanted to follow God, but in his heart, he wasn't committed. He wasn't willing to give up everything. The thing is, the money is not the issue. I want us to be very clear about that. There's nothing in the Bible that says money is evil. The love of money is evil. And I would argue to say that the love of anything else above God is evil or sinful. So for this particular guy, money was the one thing that was holding his commitment back. For me, it was a lot of things. It was probably my addiction to drugs, my pride, and you guys all have something that could stand in the way of your relationship with God. But for this guy, it was money. This is the one thing that this guy could not let go. And so he says, look, if you really want to follow me, like if you want to know what it means to commit and to be changed by God, give up the thing that you love the most. And guess what? He couldn't do it. Now I want to show you a contrasting story in Luke chapter 19. If you have your Bibles, go ahead and flip to the next book of the Bible over, Matthew, Mark, Luke, so 2 books over, and chapter 19. We're going to start at verse 1. Now, for whatever reason, the book of Matthew doesn't share this story, but Luke does, and it's right after this encounter with the rich young ruler. So he has this encounter with the rich young ruler. He tells him, you got to sell everything you have, and you can follow me. The guy says no, walks away sorrowful. By the way, we never hear about that guy ever again. Luke 19. Here's another story. He entered Jericho, Jesus, and he was passing through, and behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. And no, I'm not going to sing the song. All right? Growing up in church, there's actually a song. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. And he was seeking to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd, he could not because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up in a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. See the difference? And when they saw it, they all grumbled. Everybody else around them, they're like, who is this guy? He's gone to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I've defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold. And Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, since he also is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. I want you to see the stark contrast between the two stories. First story, the man walks away sad. He thinks he has it all together. I'm religious. I go to church. I know the scriptures. I've been doing this all my life. But his heart really wasn't into who God wanted him to be. And then we see the story of Zacchaeus. He's rich, but he's not a ruler. He's actually the chief tax collector, which is a terrible job to have because everybody hates you. When you're the tax collector, and tax collectors at the time, they would steal from you. Because there's no internet or government regulation on how much they should be getting from you. So he would go and say, hey, I need $100 from you. He'd give $90 to the Roman government and put 10 in his pocket. And all the people that he collected taxes from, they knew that. That's why anytime you read about it in the Bible, the tax collectors are notorious. They're always called sinners. They're always mentioned with drunkards and gluttons and prostitutes and the outcasts because they were the lowest of lows. So here we have a tax collector. He's rich because he's ripping everybody off. Wasn't really thought of highly. But he has this opportunity to see Jesus, climbs up this tree to see who he is. Jesus knows he wants to receive him. Says, Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your house today. We're going to have dinner together. And in that moment, I think something happened. And Zacchaeus is blown away, I think, by God's love at that time. And he's like, whatever I have, if I've robbed anybody, I give them fourfold. I'm going to take half of all my possessions and give it to you because it doesn't matter anymore. I have you, and that's everything that I need. And we see such a different contrast between the first man, the rich young ruler, and Zacchaeus, the chief tax collector. Zacchaeus was all in. Even though it cost him something, he gained everything. I read this somewhere. We Facebook more than we seek his face. We text more than we study the text. And that's me too. Our eyes aren't focused on Jesus. They're focused on our iPhones and iPads. And then we wonder why God feels so distant. We have this problem with commitment We want the results of commitment, but we're not willing to sacrifice and give what it takes to be committed. We want joy without sacrifice. We want character without suffering. We want success without failure. We want gain without pain. We want a testimony without the test, and we want it all without going all in. There's a story about a girl named Jennifer that I heard. She was shopping with her mother at a discount store, and they happened to see a pearl necklace, a fake pearl necklace. It was made out of plastic. The store only wanted a couple dollars for it, so she asked her mom, she begs her, can I get this necklace? Can you spot me a couple dollars to buy this necklace? I'll do whatever. I'll do chores at home. I'll make up my bed. I'll be on my best behavior. Just give me this pearl necklace. I love it. I have to have it. So mom agrees, buys her the pearl necklace. And she wore them everywhere. She never took them off. She wore them to bed. She wore them to school. She stood in front of the mirror admiring how good she looked with that pearl necklace. So one night before bed, her dad comes into her room, gives her a kiss, and says, "Hey, if you love me," or he asks her rather, "Do you love me?" And she says, "Yeah, Dad, you know I love you." He says, "Then give me your string of plastic pearls." She said, "You know I can't do that. I love these things." She said, "You can have my favorite stuffed animal. You can have this toy." The next day, he asks her again, "Do you love me, Jennifer?" She's like, "Yes, Dad, I love you." "And can I have that necklace?" She's like, "Dad, you know how much I love this necklace. Here, you can have my dessert after dinner. You can have whatever you want, but don't take this necklace from me." Every night of the week, the dad would ask the same thing over and over. "If you love me, you'll give those up." One morning, the dad comes downstairs. The daughter's in tears. She's got the plastic necklace in her hand. And she says, "Dad, here, I do love you more than these pearls." She hands it to her dad. Immediately, the dad goes to the back room where he had this planned all along. Grabbed out a blue velvet bag with a real strand of pearls, placed them on her neck. And he said, "I was just waiting for you to give up these fake pearls so I could replace them with the real thing." I think God asks us the same thing. Do you love me? Then give something up, something that you're committed to, something that is in the way of your relationship with me. Because when you're willing to offer that, I'm going to replace it with something so much better. And man, I was a kid. I went to church. I was like the rich young ruler. I thought I had a decent life. I know I didn't really have a good direction in life, but I didn't think there was too much wrong with me. But when it came to the moments where God asked me to give something up, to lay it all down, I didn't want to do it. And when I came to that moment where I started to commit my life to Him, things changed radically. And I'm here today saying that everything that I do right now in my life is based on God's glory in mind. That's whether I raise my family, my kids, how hard I work at school, what I do with this to help this church out. Every aspect of my life is centered and focused around Jesus. It's a filter that I look through. And if something doesn't fit, then I don't want it. Because I've been to a place where I thought I had everything, and I really had nothing. And now that I have Jesus, it doesn't matter if I have nothing because I have everything. You guys with me? When you think about your relationship with Jesus, and here's a quote I want you to get. Jesus asks more of you than you ever thought, but He offers you much more than you could ever imagine. Amen. So in your relationship with Jesus, are you all in or almost all in? When you think about your marriage or a relationship with your boyfriend or girlfriend, if that applies to you, you wouldn't want to be with somebody that was half committed to you, would you? You don't want to almost stay married in your relationship to your husband or your wife. You want to be married and committed, and you want that love to be deep, and you want to grow together. What if you only spoke to your spouse on Sundays and when you needed them every once in a while during the week? What kind of relationship would that be? You know, it's not unfair for God to want all of us, and I know we can say, man, he asks a lot. But I'm telling you that Jesus didn't die on the cross so we could go to church on Sundays and pray every once in a while. He didn't do that. But Jesus says, if you'll come and follow me and give up whatever it is, I'll give you everything. So for me, it was when I was 19 years old, man. I gave it all to God. I left my friends. I made a decision. I made a commitment. I stopped doing the things that I was doing, and I centered myself around God. And I think what God's really calling us to is some kind of action, right? Don't just leave church, say, man, that was a good message. What's for lunch? Do something. Make a commitment. Have action in your life. Decide to follow him. Again, Jesus asks more of you than you ever thought, but he offers you much more than you could ever imagine. So the band comes up. My greatest concern as a pastor or church staff or even a Christian is that people can go to church every single week, know who God is, and still never know what a life is like that is full and transformed by the power of God. When I look in the Bible, when I look at the stories of the Bible, I admire what God's done with some of these men and women. And for them to get to that level with God and into that deep relationship with God, they had to give up something. I think of Peter who walked on water. He was like, I don't know if this is even possible, but I'm going to walk on water because I'm just laying it all out there. I'm just going to give it to you. It was Abraham, if you read about him in Genesis in the Old Testament, he's like, man, you gave me the son and now you want me to sacrifice him and go up to this mountain and do this? This is crazy, but I'm going to do it because that's what you've called me to do. It was the group of friends that they had a paralyzed friend and they saw Jesus was in the house and it was too crowded and they couldn't get into him, so they climbed up on top of a roof and they dug a hole to get to him. That's commitment. We read about it all the time in the Bible. And we look at these stories and we're amazed by them. And you say, man, I could never live a life that dedicated to God. And I'm here to say, why not? Why can't we be the story? Why can't you be the story? Because when you look back at your life, the greatest moments will be the ones where you gave it all up. Okay, I can tell you for certain that when you are on your last breath, you're not going to say, I wish I had done less. I wish I hadn't given so much. I wish I hadn't volunteered. I wish I would have spent less time in the scriptures and more time in other things. You will never come to your life and say that. I think about the times where I gave up the most in my life, and those were some of the most rewarding. It was a time I decided to go to college, 700 miles from home, a place that I'd never been before. I didn't know what was going to happen there. I wasn't about school, obviously, but I went. About the time Lindsay and I, my wife, we emptied our bank accounts as a young married couple, and we went to Peru to work at an orphanage. And God gave us a heart for adoption. And over a year ago, my daughter Reese, who was basically homeless as a high school student. My wife's a teacher in high school. We decided to take her in and make her part of our family. I didn't know what I was getting into. It was inconvenient, I'll be honest. It was uncomfortable. There's a stranger coming into my house. But we did it. We gave it up. And she's family. God's good like that, right? Or moving down to Florida, or leaving my job and coming to help the church. Like, these are things that required something of me, but I got so much more in return. And that's my point. It's that Jesus asks more of you than you ever thought. He's going to push you. There's going to be times where you don't want to. There's going to be times where you're crying and in tears and on your knees and say, why, God, would you put me through this situation? I'm trying to do it for you. He asks so much more of you than you would ever thought, but he offers you so much more than you could ever imagine. So as the band starts to play, I want to ask you guys to bow your heads and close your eyes.